as the House passes the $1.9 trillion COVID Relief Act, or rather American Rescue Plan. Johnson & Johnson beginning distribution for their new single-dose vaccine, and Dr. Anthony Fauci is weighing in on the risks of easing restrictions. Joining us now to talk about all of it is business and market analyst Seth Denson. Seth, welcome back to the show.
Good to be here.
Beautiful shot, as always, there in Texas. Seth, President Biden's Relief Act is including $1,400 stimulus checks, extended federal unemployment compensation, $350 billion in recovery funds, gradual raise to $15 minimum wage, just to name a few of the things. But what's actually in here for COVID relief?
About 2.6%. This should be the COVID comma relief bill, because at the end of the day, this massive bill is spending about $50 billion on actual relief for COVID specifically, those things that are targeting COVID more specifically. So unfortunately, this is a massive spending bill with a litany of things that Democrats want to see in it, but unfortunately not enough to really target COVID, and that's what we need to do to get the economy rolling again.
And I think many people wonder why we can't just pass a separate for COVID relief, but of course, it's politics. It's government. President Biden spoke from the White House Saturday, thanking the House for their support for the bill, saying that we have no time to waste. If we act now, decisively, quickly, and boldly, we can finally get ahead of the virus. So how do you think of his handling, the effect this is going to have on the economy with so little money actually going to COVID relief?
Yeah, I think his handling will be ultimately judged by historians, and we may be a little too early to ultimately pass, significant judgment here. That being said, I think this bill's going to have about a 2.5% impact to what's going on, and that's the real sad fact here. I think that President Biden, is focused on the wrong things. He's not focused on getting more vaccines into more arms and really focused on those targeted areas that need support and relief because they've been shut down. It seems instead that he wants to focus on those things that Democrats really want to try to push through in this bill.
And that's the thing. There have been 525,776 U.S. COVID deaths to date right now. Now, the decline in cases seems to have stalled. Many people confused about that. And there's conflicting reports. If you go through social media, one day you see Anthony Fauci and the headline says, if you're vaccinated, you can probably socialize soon. The next day, it's Anthony Fauci concerned about socializing even after vaccinations. So people are still left in limbo. Do you think the bill is going to get things moving in any way?
Well, again, 2.5%.
2.5%.
But nonetheless, no, here's the whole sad part on Dr. Fauci, and I don't want to demonize the man. He's been put in a no-win situation, and I don't know why we keep trotting him out there to do that. He is one voice amongst many voices in the medical community, and somehow we've made this guy God. He can't see the future, and this is a virus that we don't know a lot of things about, and I think the problem that we've seen from the federal government is this almost intent to say this is the way it is. Well, we don't know the way it is, right? And so we need to focus on those things that are not going to be long-term detrimental to our people. And we're starting to see the effects of that, right? The lockdowns are showing massive detrimental impact to children, certainly to the economy, and that's going to have a long-term impact going forward. And we're doing this on the I don't know really the answer, but I'm going to go out there and say that I know the answer methodology, and it's just not the right way to approach this.
And that hasn't worked well throughout this entire pandemic we've seen. Let's switch gears. Let's talk about the vaccines. Johnson & Johnson receiving the go-ahead from the CDC to begin the distribution. We know that shipments were sent out overnight for that vaccine. It only requires one dose, does not have to be frozen, and now it gives people 3 different vaccines. Do you think that we could ramp up those vaccines coming into spring as we head into summer and possibly be in a completely different position now that we are almost coming up on that 1-year anniversary of when this all started?
Yeah, I certainly hope so, and it appears that we're going to. Listen, I've said all along that we needed more industries to get, or more companies to get more vaccines out. That was the beauty of Operation Warp Speed. It was really encouraging that. The beauty of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, again, it's one shot. Now, while the efficacy rate may not be as high as Moderna or Pfizer, this is one of those things that still the success rate as far as life is 100%, and that's fantastic. And the severity impact of COVID, if you do get it, is still very low. And so, you've got a good efficacy here. It's one shot. It's easier to store, can get into more places. And Johnson & Johnson is saying they can get 20 million of these out pretty quick. That's a lot of people, because remember, that's 20 million doses. That's 20 million people vaccinated.
Yeah, a lot of people saying it was too complicated for people to follow up to get that second dose, so maybe that will ease some of the confusion. Seth, before I let you go, you're there in Texas, and one of the last times we talked to you, you were standing on your frozen pool. I know it's switching gears a bit, but has that defrosted?
We're back to Texas where we're getting all 4 seasons in one day. So, yeah, thank you. I think last week we saw temperatures in the 80s, and it's going to be lovely and in the 70s this week. You got to love Texas. We get it all, sometimes even in one day.
Typical Texas. All right, Seth Denson, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Rachel.